Hello everyone and welcome to Best Side Cycling. Happy New Year's Eve, and for this video it's going to be very simple, and it's been one I've been wanting to do for a long time, and that is that we're going to ride the whole Lake Washington Loop in one go, and I'm going to commentate you through the whole thing. So it's about just under 50 miles, and during that time you'll just be on the GoPro cam, and I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know to do this ride. I've been meaning to make this video because it's just such a popular ride around here, and it deserves a full guide of all the details so that all of you would be fully prepared when you want to do it in the new year. So without further ado, there's a lot of talking, so let's just go and start rolling. We are now on the Eastrail in South Bellevue, a trail that you see me ride many a times. And the pace I'm going to be holding today is just going to be my tempo pace, or the pace I can talk at. So I think average will probably end up at probably 17 miles per hour or so. We'll see if that actually comes to place. But on the right here, you'll already see bits of the views of Lake Washington, as well as Mercer Island, a big imprint here to the right. But yeah, it's a pretty nice Seattle winter day. It's about 7-8 degrees, but no rain today. Usually you would probably expect to get showered on, but today I don't think that will be the case, or else I will feel a little unlucky. But yeah, this section was basically built up. I mean, this trail's been here for a while, but it's got revamped over the past few years. So when I started the channel and started covering it, this was one of the first sort of updates. So this area got a whole refresh in 2021. Now it's a super wide trail, also with sort of a gravel shoulder as well. So a really nice part to ride. And yeah, can't wait for it to start get connected to more places, both north and south. But yeah, this section of the loop is one of my favorite, and it's the one I also live the closest to. So yeah, so as I was saying, the whole route is probably about like just under 50 miles. Usually when you connect from somewhere, it'll end up being around 50, 55. And then elevation wise, I believe it's just about 26 feet, 600 feet or so. The climbs definitely, it sort of come and goes. There isn't just like one section where all the climbs are, but this section is relatively quite flat. So yeah. And throughout the video, I'll also point out like a lot of the different routing options you might have or want. So you can always consider all those. But let's see here on your left. Yeah, this loop does involve two big trail portions, and we'll talk more about later in the Burke Gilman, where there's going to be a lot more, potentially more people when you're riding in the summer. Things to consider, but this section rarely is that full. It's just very wide, and it's even on the busiest days, it's really quite manageable. So if you continue here, there's sort of a gravel path that continues where it will ride along. But then today, I'll show you sort of, if you want the all paved experience that I usually do, you would make a left here to cut out to the road. So making a left turn, and then coming down here, we're really close to the VMAC, so where the Seahawks practice. Watch out for traffic here. Sometimes there's ones that come up from the right, and then we just go straight. And yeah, the loop overall is not too hard to navigate. I would say there's like a few sections of it that's definitely awkward, especially around Bellevue, that people get confused on, because it definitely doesn't feel like the rest of the loop. But generally speaking, it's really nice. There's a lot of different types of sites you get, and there's the big VMAC Center right there. There's a big number 12 flag to the next of it. I don't know if you can sort of hang out and see players, but I know that it's here. And this whole area has changed a lot too. There used to be a trail that connected like on this, I guess this would be the east end here, and then it's all got shifted onto that new trail that we just rode on. So it's really neat as we ride through this whole thing. Even me, I've lived here about like 8 years, but I've only been biking for 4 years really. And even in that 4 years, I've seen so much change among the Lake Washington Loop, and I'll definitely point them all out because this whole ride's improved a lot. This area is still as bumpy as ever. You can see these potholes I'm working around, but it's quite, yeah, today is such a nice day, relatively speaking. It's because not getting rained on in December to February is already a huge, huge success. So here, we're going to turn officially on Lake Washington Boulevard. You'll see this famous Seahawks Renton sign. A lot of the work here has been going on to widen the 405. So it's sort of been non-stop changes, sort of just east in that direction. But this part now, we're gonna have a painted bike lane for a lot of it till we reach all the way to Renton. So we gotta look out for what this guy's doing. Oh, nope. Thank you. All right, so here we go, and you can still see the trail out there to the bit to the right. It'll be super exciting when eventually Eastrail will connect to Coulon, but that's still a ways away. But it's there, so it can definitely keep going. It currently ends at some like railroad tracks up ahead. And then this area has seen a little bit of improvement and changes. You'll note like I've noticed that they added like these like flashing stop signs some whiles ago. I think it's a lot to do with the new developments that are around here, but honestly, the thing to take in the most is a lot of the beautiful views as we just sort of wrap around the lake. You just get all different sights of Mercer Island, Seattle, Renton, and you can see a lot of the yachts and the boats that they have. And yeah, this is probably one of my most classic rides. I usually ride towards the hills, but today is special. And yeah, it's the end of the year. It's been a crazy 2024. I mean, the channel's gone through a lot this year. It's the biggest year of growth and just a lot of exciting milestones. Like we had a film premiere, and we just started up like a lot of Brompton stuff this year. Honestly, a lot of the bikes that I got are new for this year too, like the titanium one. So a lot of adventures just starting from here, and I'm pretty proud and excited. I finally hit, oh, this green striping is also a little bit new as we pass by. What was that? It's like broken up. Interesting. I don't think that's glass, but it's just like it feels like the green paint or just shattered something. But anyway, what I was saying, yeah, we just passed by the Kennedale Park. It's still there here. Is that all glass? It might be. There's like these green shards on the ground, like here, like up ahead. You'll see it again. I think it's just salt. Salt is the most logical answer. Okay, but anyway, yeah, in the wintertime, there's usually a fair amount of more debris in the bike lanes, so definitely watch out. Like I was riding around May Valley yesterday in the long suburban road here, and there was like 3 road kills on the way. One of them definitely blocked my path. So we're here on this little tiny bit of a roller, and then heading soon over to Coulon Park. But yeah, I was saying this is the first year I reached 500k feet in elevation. I like to count that more than just miles. I think I had like 6,500 miles, but I like counting elevation because I don't know, it's or time spent on the bike, because I feel like those are more unique. I guess miles, it really depends on what kind of routes you're riding and in terms of how much you gain. And Man, this is just a gorgeous day to be out on a bike ride here. And as we approach Coulon, this is definitely one of the premier sort of rest stops along the whole Lake Washington route. So I would highly recommend it. Also, during the fall season, you can make a detour in there to pass by the famous sort of, I got it like tree lane, autumn tree lane. There's like there's a lane with a ton of trees on it. And it's not a big detour at all. It's really easy. And then, yeah, there's full restrooms, there's an Ivar's, Kids Valley, so if you need food as well. So today I'm packed to just sort of keep going and just ride the whole time. Actually, no, I actually only bought one bottle of water, that's a lie. So I brought one big bottle of water, so I plan to stop at some point, maybe midway, closer to Leschi or maybe Log Boom. But yeah, and then really nice spot. I remember my first time riding around here, Coulon. This felt so far from South Lake Union, but if you ever do get around here, it's worth a stop. There's a lot of nice ducks as well, people like to look at. And then if you're into Boeing, some parts of the park you can even see the currently constructed Boeing planes. They've added those speed cushions that we just passed by too, some time ago. It wasn't like a big name thing. They had this one iteration where it had the speed cushions and some flex posts in the bike lane, and that was really awkward. Now they got rid of those flex posts, and it's just a couple speed cushions on the ground. So I like that a lot more. And then we're gonna go here. And this next turn to the right would be the one to the park. But we're gonna continue straight today, but definitely take note of this. So in terms of the time I'm riding today, it's just about 12:40 p.m. on a Tuesday. So there isn't gonna be too much traffic. So for some of the areas, definitely gauge your expectations a little differently. I say overall, the loop is fine to ride most days, except for, honestly, I think one of the most high traffic stress areas is probably the northeast section on Juanita in Kirkland. There's construction there, and it's sort of a busy arterial to begin with. And then also near Seward Park. But today, I think we can tell from this ride it'll probably be fine, but there won't be much to it. And yeah, even from up here, if you look down to the right, you'll see the tree lane that I'm talking about. But we're soon approaching into the Renton landing, which is this nice area next to Boeing. It's basically, it's not a strip mall, but there's like a lot of things available, amenities, food and all that. And then watch for this car here, as well as one of the main hazards along the whole route. There's a set of railroad tracks here that I really don't like. So what I always do and advise is that you guys get into the lane, and then you'll see that it's not super perpendicular with the road. So I just approach real slow, and then as you're going across it, I turn with the road to make sure that I go normal to those tracks. And that's it. So yeah, if you do take that alternate route, you can go out from just in here in this section to the right. Otherwise, we keep going straight and we're gonna make a right turn up ahead at the next light. Navigationally, there isn't too many turns on this loop. There's just, I guess, a few crucial ones that if you're completely new to it, you might miss. And then you'll start to see Boeing factories around here. There's cars everywhere, but that's okay. And we'll look out here. And if you hear that beeping, that's coming from my Garmin Varia radar and bike computer. So that just tells me there's cars behind me. So here we're gonna make a right turn, as are these cars. depending on traffic, sometimes I advise just waiting behind them so you don't get right hooked. So for this guy, I'm just gonna wait here, as I think, I don't know if we actually got a light right now. Who has, okay, yeah, it's safe. Look, it's red. Okay, so we make a right turn here and we just keep going. That truck was patient behind me, so once he came out. So here there's a bunch of different bike lane configurations. I'll show you what I do, but it's gonna be depend on your comfort level, but it's a little awkward up ahead. Honestly, if you're doing the loop counterclockwise, this is probably one of the main reasons why I like and advise people to do the loop clockwise, is because this section is a lot cleaner clockwise. If you go counterclockwise, the lane gets broken up and you get sort of sent to the other side because there's a cycle track on this side of the road up ahead. There's some alternate routes you can take that avoids all that. It goes through like quieter parts of Renton, but this is definitely one of the areas that is not as clean to ride through, but there's gonna be not too much traffic today. So, and as I mentioned, the Renton landing is here to my left. They have all sorts of fast food, top pot, probably pretty much anything you can think of. I think most people's cuisines and wants, coffee or boba, can be met here. Red Robin too, so could be a nice spot. All right, so how the bike lane works here is that it sort of mixes in with sort of the crossings on the right and crosswalks, and then leads you back on. So to be honest, on a day like this, a lot of times I would just take the lane here, because sometimes I don't want to deal with curbs or right hooks and stuff like that. So if you're comfortable, you ride on lane here like this, then you're sort of just back on, as the original bike lane sort of took you onto a sidewalk and then back into this thing. And then depending on conditions, you can honestly stay in the lane for the next while or next few blocks, but I'll just show you what this looks like. And the other thing to really look out for here is all the Boeing employee parking lots. There are gonna be a lot of people turning out. So that's another advantage of potentially just sticking in the lane here, which is what I'm gonna do, as from here it transitions a bit into a cycle track there. The cycle track is fine, it's just quite a bit bumpy, so it's definitely meant for slower speeds, and I just find it a lot easier to ride on the road. So I'll show you what I usually do, but you can tell the bike lane transitions onto the crossing here, and then the crossing goes onto the cycle track. Most days that I ride this, it's really not too busy here, and today's especially not busy, so this is definitely an option. You can transition on earlier, but as I said, to avoid right hooks and stuff like that, I usually go up to the onto a future light. But cars have pretty ample room to pass me, so if anyone really, I've never had any issues here. And then, as it's not bumpy, it's suitable for the higher speeds that I'm riding at now. So I usually just go on to the next light and you can transition on, or even up ahead. There's really a lot of points you can turn back onto here. So we'll just do this one because it's nice and open. And then watch out for those bollards there. There's some turtle bollards on the ground that can cause issue. And off we go. And this section is also relatively new within the past few years. All these airport way bike lanes. So they have this new big cycle track here. And then we'll just stay along. As you probably don't want, as this is probably where it gets really busy, you don't want to get on the road as much on this section. And we're approaching to the Renton airport. So here is where I make a right. The connection over to Rainier is not that clean right now up ahead. I'm pretty sure there's like massive construction there right now. So here you get to ride on what I would say is definitely a top spot of the whole loop. Probably favorite for many people due to the low traffic stress and just the wide open views of airplanes, as we see other cyclists sort of going along here too. So this is, I think it's called Perimeter Road, and you'll definitely enjoy it as it's relatively car-free. Pavement is super smooth, and if you're a fan of aviation, you'll see planes all around, as this is the local Renton airport. So I would highly recommend people either use I'll try to put a lot of time markers in the description. This is probably gonna be a 2.5, maybe even 3-hour video. I don't think so, or maybe just about 3 hours. So we'll see how we get on. But yeah, I'm sure people will have parts that they're more curious about, and to keep me entertained this whole time, yeah, I'll be talking through most of this ride. So right now we're running parallel to Rainier Avenue, and trust me, this road is a lot nicer than what's up there in terms of cars. So definitely a fan favorite. And then due to the wind patterns, I'm not sure why, but usually this next section is usually a south wind, that is, it's blowing north. So it's usually a nice time rolling through all of this. Steel plate on the ground. As our next big rest stop destination from here will be Seward Park. And we're about, probably about like 3-4 miles away. So and that might not need as much as an introduction as some of the spots here. Okay, so as we approached this next stop sign, we're going to turn left and then turn onto Rainier. Be extra careful here, as there's very often speeding traffic heading in that direction. Oh, it looks like we got some street cleaners. That's awesome. Definitely some of our best friends that take care of the debris and the things that lead to so many punctures on the road. So yeah, this is a bit of a sketch turn. You just turn on. There's sort of speeding traffic behind you, but soon we'll get a painted bike lane. as we're now, as soon as these bike lanes start, have pretty much entered into South Seattle. So, and then to the right, you'll still get views of Mercer Island. And now you'll see Bellevue on the other side as well. Or maybe, yeah, I think you can probably see parts of Bellevue, or maybe Newcastle. And then we go along here. I said it wouldn't be heavily trafficked, but this is, it'd still be considered light. Definitely watch out here. Cars can go pretty fast, so honestly, there's like many news stories about like crashes that happen here, like cars just running into houses and stuff. So my general thought is definitely make yourself very visible, but also I usually like to ride in the daytime, just when things are usually more normal traffic patterns, and people don't feel like the road's so empty that they can speed and just do whatever they want. So, but yeah, no, overall it's still a nice ride. It's really straight, as I said. I don't know if I might have a full tailwind right now, but I think I have at least not a headwind as we're going forward. So that really helps. And as I said, we're headed now towards Seward Park. And we're already about like 9 miles in. So yeah, I can fly by pretty quick. Oh wait, 9 miles is from where I started in my place, sorry. So we're probably only 6 miles of riding in. So I'll have that updated number somewhere. It's just a nice long road. Aside from the cars on your left, also look out for any of the obstacles or doors on the right. This is technically a door lane. In some areas there's extra clearance, but others there's not. So I usually like to hang somewhere like here, where I still have presence on the road, but I'm not gonna be doored. And then I always have room to the right if I need to escape from the cars on the left. So, oh, I guess this is maybe technically Seattle. I saw the sign up there that said welcome to Seattle. I actually never paid attention to the exact border, but somewhat confident that was it now. But yeah, we see a fair amount of cyclists coming the other way. Here's another pair. Riding on this nice day. The markings here are weird. My theory is that they never got updated. So now we just sort of have like buffered bike lanes here without any real protection, like not even flex posts. But yeah, this is what it's like. I think it's part of the measures probably SDOT put to slow traffic down here on Rainier. But yeah, there definitely needs to be more along this corridor. As I think it's rated 25 miles per hour, but that's rarely the speed you'll see here. You'll see that speeding sign up ahead. Yep, 33. Everybody's over 25. It's very rare to see anyone driving at that speed here. All right. Bit of potholes there, or bumps there, or here still. And yeah, I think the Lake Washington Loop can really be, for me, it was like the first epic ride, you know, the one that got me more or less hooked into road cycling as the first challenge that I wanted to do. It was a very hard challenge. It took me a long time. Back then I was only averaging maybe like 12 miles per hour to start going at it. And it feels super daunting. But my hope with this video is that for some people that like sort of a heads up or just know what it feels like, this can give you a really good precursor, or you can just zoom into any section you want. And then I'll be talking about that area as well. So it's definitely a big loop and a worthy first challenge for a lot of people. 50 miles with a good amount of climbing is no joke. So. Here. And then I'm sure people in the comments will add a lot more commentary about the history of these areas. The only knowledge I'm going to give is just about cycling here and how it's changed. But yeah, I know that these lanes, they must have been repainted at some point too. So here it gets a lot tighter, so definitely look out. I really can't speak more highly of getting some type of radar and bike computer. It lets me gauge traffic behind me, even if it's like 100 or 200 meters away, and then lets me plan what I'm gonna do. All right, we're slowly coming to the end of our time on Rainier Avenue. You can tell as you get this curve and you see these cars parked along here. Unfortunately, the areas of Rainier Avenue up ahead are not nearly as nice to ride on, so most people will turn off here. As there's signs here indicating it's part of the lake washing loop. Look out to not get right hooked as per usual, and then we can make this turn. Now this area can get fairly busy. Drivers usually are pretty respectable or respecting of cyclists here, but there's a heads up because there's definitely a good section here that's just sort of sharrowed, you would say. It's just one lane, 25 miles per hour again. And yeah, all throughout the Pacific Northwest, there's parks everywhere. So here is a boat ramp. I believe there's restrooms that are just down here if you are urgent need to go. I think there's also connections to the Chief South Trail. And then, yeah, this mural that's on the ground has some salmon on it. It's really nice. I like that we add some of the artwork here. And yeah, there's definitely amenities that you'll see as you ride along. And then now it's going to be a bit of a gradual climb here, starting from here, Sheva Park. As we're on Seward Park Avenue officially now. And yeah. So these speed cushions also, I don't have an exact date when they add them, but also within the past 4 years, which is a long time, I admit now. But this area has seen some level of change, as well as these painted bike lanes weren't always here, I'm pretty sure. So you can also tell by how they look as well. So this helps makes it more official, along with the seat cushions, just to at least slow things down a bit and give cyclists some designated space. But definitely do what you need to do. Take the lane if it's what's necessary. Like here, here's all right, but watch out for turning traffic again. As I'm gonna go with this car as we continue straight. So yeah, this is, I think it's also just like, you know, good basic changes. Just like the ones we'll see in Lake Washington Boulevard up ahead, that just help make riding this a little bit more manageable. Because yeah, this is definitely not peak traffic time, so you get an idea of how busy it could be around here. So right now it's about 3-4% gradient. Throughout the loop, you won't run anything too crazy. There's some sections with some sustained 6 to 7% gradients, but here you see it leads you onto the curb. I signal to get onto the lane. I go move out of the way for this truck to pass me, and then we'll keep going. So a lot of this stuff, what you do is how you manage to just ride with cars and stay safe. I wish it was easier, but that's just sort of the cards we're dealt with. But we are going along here. There's a hill coming up ahead. It'll be one of the notable steeper parts of the route. It's not super long, but definitely is a little bit more steep. So relatively speaking, I guess. Actually, I don't know about that. There's actually a lot of different little rollers and things, but it's compared to what you've been riding so far, it'll definitely be noticeable. I'll just put it that way then. Yeah, I definitely have like probably every mile of this route pretty much memorized. I haven't done it that many times, but enough times, and I think I would say I have a knack for directions and remembering these sort of things. I don't know, this is something that interests me a lot. Just riding places, discovering them, and like adding them to my knowledge map. So here, that car stopped, so I'm just gonna go, and here's the hill. So a good little effort here. I haven't been able to really trust the grade meter on my Garmin, but I'll read you what it says. I'm not going all out. Right now it's still saying 5 to 6. I'd probably say this feels like a 7, but it doesn't last long. Okay, it's popped up to 7, 8. And yeah, I think 8 is probably accurate for where it gets up to. As there's a little bit more here, we'll reach to the end. So let's see. And here we go. Nice. And after you've done that hill, it's a nice descent down to Seward Park. So as you're in some residential areas. And the turn we want to make is up ahead. Right about here. As we continue on Seward Park Avenue and we roll down to the bottom. This is a nice descent, I would say, relatively speaking, but there is a ghost bike here, so I would definitely always recommend take it chill. Keep your head on a swivel, look out for obstacles, because you never know. All right. And this would be the hill you'd be climbing if you were doing the route counterclockwise. So it's sort of nice. Or if you're doing like Seattle to Portland, you'll definitely be going up this hill. You see someone going up it now. Actually, yeah, I feel like the clockwise, I honestly like clockwise a lot more, but maybe counterclockwise is a lot more popular just because when people start from Seattle, it makes more sense, maybe? I never understood it though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you do this loop clockwise or counterclockwise. But we made it here to Seward Park. I'm just gonna check on the mic really quick and here, actually I'll shoot this view really quick and then we'll just keep going real soon. So there's a pretty high curb here as well as a spot with Mount Rainier right there in the back. So yeah, this is my first time taking a photo in this particular spot, but yeah, this is my giant Defy. This is my first ever carbon bike, and right now it's sort of my designated sort of winter bike. I put SVD pedals on it so I can walk around, it has fenders, and yeah, it's been really great for me so far. I use it also on sort of my flatter rides too. So we're gonna keep going here, and I'm in the loop, but it's worth pointing out right there to the right is the restrooms, and then there are some water fountains around. They sometimes get turned off in the winter, but yeah, the restrooms are nice. So we're gonna continue now. If you didn't want to turn to Seward Park, you just make a left from that stop sign we were, and we're here onto this section now of Lake Washington Boulevard. Now, I made many videos on this area, but yeah, this is a very nice spot to ride during the bicycle weekends in the summers. They'll close this down to cars, and then it just turns sort of into a big trail with just local access. There's currently work that's going to be completed more so even next year, just adding more crossings and speed cushions and changing the intersection even around here on Orcas. So looking forward to that. I really do think the current changes that we'll see again ahead have done a lot. They add some speed cushions in this area, but yeah, for people new riding here, definitely also just be mindful of traffic. I think right now it'll be hopefully pretty calm, but it can be very crazy. But look at those views, just out to the right. This is where you get the closest to the lake. It's also where you'll see the I90 bridge, and then on a super clear day, and if you have good eyes, you might be able to see Mount Baker when we roll up ahead. So, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be great to see this area really turn into a space anyone can use. I mean, I feel very comfortable riding here, and I think if it's usually just a matter of yeah, tolerance to cars as well as like speed. The faster you ride, I've found, is cars become a lot more tolerable in a sense that they just are relatively not moving as fast as you. So at least that's my experience. It's a differential in speed that definitely makes things more rough. But yeah, we'll see some of the changes as we get some nice signs telling us speed bumps are indeed coming ahead. There's some new developments here on the right. Huh, That must go for very expensive. And yeah, you can see these new speed cushions. They're nice for people rolling at the pace that I am now, because bikes can just weave between them. Well, there's actually a lot of space, so you don't really need to weave, but you know what I mean. They're not that high either though. You would roll over those no problem. And yeah, we see a ton of people on their bikes today, which is awesome. I haven't encountered anyone riding clockwise yet. Yeah. So maybe, I really do think maybe it's the east side versus starting a Seattle thing. But I do think clockwise, especially for that Renton portion, and even Rainier Avenue, parts of it's not really fun to ride counterclockwise. I think clockwise is a lot easier. So you don't have to turn into 2 lanes of fast traffic. But anyway, just cruising along here. My radar tells me there's a car behind me, so I just keep a straight line, brace for a pass, and continue. But yeah, I hope you guys' 2024 has also been super good. I know that this channel over the course of this year has incorporated so much Brompton stuff, but actually I would say the average ride I have, like you want to call it the median ride or the typical ride I have, is still on my road bike around my neighborhood, because I ride every day. I try to at least get around, and then especially if the weather's okay, I'll do my local hills, and that's really still where I've come to enjoy it the most. I feel like maybe it's partially because I don't know what kind of videos to make with my road bike, whereas the Brompton thing just gives like things a new twist, and I feel like it just pulls the different groups together, since there's not usually a lot of people that like taking up their folding bikes up steep hills, so it's a fun mix. But yeah, I really love riding my road bikes, but the Brompton just can't be overstated how convenient it is to take overseas. But wait, hold up, you see Baker is in sight today, even with my eyes. So yeah, that's an awesome ride to do too. I'll probably, now with my experience, I'll try to compile a list of all the local rides I recommend people try out and do. So, because there's a lot. And here's my first rider that I've seen in the same direction as me, surprisingly. I'm also wearing a buff right now. I think I'll probably use it to cover my nose, because it's getting cold. Let's see how I last. I definitely do not do very well in the cold, so I'm in constant need of something. Okay, looked like she was waiting for somebody, but we'll just keep going here. You'll see I90 bridge ahead. We'll be passing straight by that and going all the way to the 520, where we'll be able to, on this route, use the brand new Montlake lid. So that's also pretty cool. I can definitely feel that there's a non-beneficial wind right now. It's just slightly. On your left. And this is the section with a ton of the cushions made. Awesome. Oh, I see they passed over a very bumpy section too. That's nice. Yeah. And good pavement is so nice to ride on. Hello. As you'll continue to see signs here that just indicate the Lake Washington Loop. they can be a good way to just at least know that you're on the right track. Yeah, I say directionally, there's just a few key turns that you need to know. But this area is very straightforward. We'll be going straight for a long time, all the way till we make it to the 520 bridge, basically. But I will show some variations as well that you can do. So. But yeah, most weekdays, if I go on a ride, I might just do, the cool thing with Lake Washington Loop is that you can split it up into like 3 different rides, if not more options, because you can use the bridges as cut-throughs. So super popular is do the middle 2, the 2 bridges loop, or you can do the north loop or the south loop. The south loop I think is my favorite, of course. It's the easiest access to me. Runs about like 26 miles from my place, going around, crossing over the I90 Trail. But today we're gonna try riding the full loop, which I haven't done in like a good while. It might have been like, I honestly don't, oh, I remember. I did it in June when I came back from my vacation on my Brompton to prepare for the Seattle to Portland one day. But then I realized that my back was injured. So that was probably a mistake. So, yeah. But today is redemption. Always gotta give that nod and wave. All right, here. I think my average speed for the ride so far is about 17. I'm not going ham or anything. I don't think that's gonna hold because it's definitely gonna slow down the trail and the climbing parts of the northeast section. So yeah, this is probably gonna be about like a 3-hour video-ish. We'll see. Yep. So thanks for joining along. Alright, we're approaching the end of this Lake Washington Boulevard Park section that is part of the park. And then I'll show you how you would normally turn onto the I90 Trail if you just want to do the South Lake Loop from this direction. But we are going to just simply press forward. Right here is, oh, there's a sign as well. This leads you to the Mountain to Sound Trail, the I90 Trail, and then a sign pointing forward for the Lake Washington Loop. So I'm gonna keep going here. Go forward. So for today's ride, I only brought 1 bottle because it's a pretty cold day and I know there's a lot of spots to refill. I'll do a check in a second. There's a car gonna pass me. Maybe they're gonna pass me. They're looking at me. Oh, they're waiting for all these other cars. Thank you. All right. This car is lit up on the right. Okay. Yeah, I'm like barely made a dent in this, so this will take me almost all the way to Logboom, maybe even Kirkland. We'll see. But we're going to be entering Leschi soon. A pretty really nice Seattle neighborhood. When my now spouse and I were looking for a place a few years ago, we basically like looked across all of King County for a home. Leschi was definitely top of our list because it comes off as a more affordable. It's still pretty residential, but we ended up in South Bellevue. So, which I actually love, and I think is a huge reason why this channel got started and why I love cycling, is because it's close to the hills, the infamous South Bellevue Mystical Alps. I think, I mean, I post a lot of stuff about bike infrastructure and stuff, but the stuff I'm most passionate about, or I feel most at home on a bike, is definitely when I'm just out riding for fun, climbing hills, seeing new things. So. All right. Yeah, the pavement in this section is not very nice. It's not like terrible, but there's this constant little bit of rattling you probably hear from my fenders. So yeah, generally some of the Seattle pavement is definitely more rough than the stuff on the east side. Yeah. Let's go here. And then here there's like a Starbucks as well as a bike shop that's right on the road. I think it's Polka Dot Shop, I think it's called. So in case you need to run into something or need something, they're here. So that Starbucks here to the left. It's a very common meeting point, even for the get to know the teams racing things. It's a common meetup spot. And then you can see, you probably didn't see the bike shop on camera, but I'm pretty sure it's right there. So yeah. We're gonna go straight through. And then today is an especially clear day. I can see Bellevue clear as day, as well as a lot of the mountains behind. You can even see some of the cascades from here. So yeah, it's as good as it gets. I mean, there's some debris in the bike lanes, in the shoulders, in the gutters, but it's usually okay to manage. So this part's flat. Then we reach into another bit of a hilly, rolly section. So here I had to change out a GoPro battery, and during that time, unfortunately, I didn't notice that one of my mic batteries went out. So then I have absolutely no audio for the next 30-40 minutes. It does come back, so I'm just going to commentate over this. And yeah, it's just going to be a bit of a ride podcast here as we continue along. And yeah, there is a lot of nice actual steep climbs in general you can do here, heading west, climbing up like into Madrona or similar areas. And then here we are approaching Madrona Park with another nice viewpoint of the lake. I mean, all throughout this ride, you're just going to have so many different green spaces and viewpoints of the Lake Washington. So yeah, I definitely should ride around here more. If you have recommendations for hills I should try, definitely let me know. There's definitely a lot of will it climb worthy ones over here. So yeah, let me know. And also, if you've been enjoying this video, definitely roll that like button and subscribe. I mean, I found sort of that these long unedited formats, especially for the popular routes, you guys have enjoyed a lot. So definitely takes me a lot less time to make these sort of videos, and it lets me do what I love most, which is just being out here riding my bike, enjoying views like this. As out to the right, you definitely can see Baker today, as well as we get sights of the 520 bridge just under it as well. And what comes next here is sort of the climby section of this area. It starts with sort of one more gradual climb and then into a pitch of the Lakeview climb. So I actually sort of went for it this time. You have the fortunate benefit now of not being able to hear my heavy breathing that goes on here, but it's been a while since I've ridden this, so I sort of just see how I can do as my cadence rises up a bit. I'm definitely feeling it, and then the pavement has not improved in this area since I've basically lived here. I hope they get this repaved. That's one thing about Seattle versus the east side. You'll definitely notice that at least Bellevue or some of these other cities, they put a lot of money into maintaining the streets. Plus, they have not nearly as much area to cover, so that's a huge part of it as well. So definitely, as much as it's not as fun to ride on the east side due to cars, it's sort of nice to have really smooth pavement. But anyway, going up here, we're pretty much done the climb, and then this area, I don't think there's too much to explore near here. I think there's a park if you go down in the upcoming intersections like Denny Blaine Park and Beach, but otherwise it's sort of a straight shot here. And yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a long ride of me just talking about random things and things about this route. I'd say another thing to watch out here is that there is this curve, and then this island that shows up is like awkwardly shaped, I'll say that, or like it's not a standard shape. So when I was first riding and going along here, this curve always scared me. So definitely just paying attention to that. And then there's always wayfinding you're gonna find whenever there is something like that points you more or less in the right direction. I'd say like 90% of those Lake Washington Loop signs are like pretty good and pretty accurate. Sometimes there's ones that lead me to places I don't really understand, but yeah, here there's this turn to McGillivray Boulevard, but we're just gonna go straight up here, and now we are at the Lakeview Park Climb. So this is one of the bit of steeper sections of the whole course, and it's a good sort of sprint up, sort of. I mean, it's steep. So both going up and down, you definitely need to pay attention. During like the Seattle to Portland, there's always unfortunately accidents here because out of the whole course, this is one of the steeper sections, and it's like two sort of deep S bends. So yeah, just pay mind there. Going uphill is not really an issue on that front. You just have to survive the gradient. As you enter in, you turn left, you do this main big bend, and it just sort of takes you out of the gradient. And then this is probably where I'll try to point out one of the major directions you want to follow, and that is to keep left. If you go to the right, it just leads you into some residential areas, and I've done it before, and then you have to climb your way back out of it. So yeah, take my word and just go this way. I think there's a sign there as well that leads you in this direction. And then from here, it's interesting, the signs actually point sort of ambiguously towards the left, and that's what I was pointing out, but I've never gone that way. I don't think it's much faster or anything. I would recommend you just sticking with the road that we're on, which is still now East Lake Washington Boulevard. So yeah, the pavement also is a little bit rough here, but it's not too bad, and it's actually a downhill now, so it's pretty manageable to get through this. And I would say this is, yeah, I mean, there's so many iconic parts of this loop. I really love all parts of it. The residential parts, I think, is also really nice, just to see all the different homes and in between, as we're sort of approaching the sort of we're in the Harrison Denny Blaine neighborhood, but also like Madison Valley area in general. And then up ahead is going to be the Arboretum, where there are a couple choices in terms of navigation and your comfort level, which sort of path you want to take. But here there is this curve, and then this curve leads into some potholes that are pretty, once you've ridden it a couple of times, you'll recognize them. So just watch out here. You'll see here there are a couple particular lines to take. That is one area that I'll just call out in particular just because it's hidden behind a corner. But once you're out of this corner, you're going to be approaching Madison Street, where the recent G line was built, and a big sort of arterial corridor, also a big hill. But we're going to go straight here, and then this is where you can either choose to ride on the road or on the trail. I'll mention sort of pros and cons of each. But if you want to ride on trails, right there to the right here, there's opening. You'll see that curb there, and that's going to bring you onto the Arboretum Trail that runs parallel to where we're riding right now. And if you choose to ride on Lake Washington Boulevard, definitely recommend it more if you're able to roll at the pace of about sort of 20 miles per hour or above, because this is a definitely heavy trafficked area, and then so that it could be sort of pretty high stress if there's a car waiting behind you, because for example, you can tell majority of the flow is coming southbound, so cars that are behind you might not necessarily be able to pass. I'm holding around 23, I'm going 26 right now because this is actually a downhill, so you actually have that benefit too. But if you're on the trail, you can have a much more loose sort of quiet experience. But the downside with the trail is that there's no direct connection right now towards the 520 trail, i.e. To Montlake Ln and above. So you basically, if you ride on the trail, you either have to use like this bridge that we'll see later, or ride over to the parking lot and then still connect on the rest of it to the road. So if you want to avoid cars overall, you'll have to sort of use that and then navigate some neighborhood streets, which is fine, but it might be harder to navigate on the first go. This is much simpler, but as said, I recommend it if you're either really comfortable with cars or able to go at a higher click, as the speed limit here is 25. And then some of these bends, some of these raised crosswalks do keep the drivers a little bit honest, but definitely it might not be cup of tea for everybody. And then to point out near here, main amenity is the Montlake bicycle shop. So definitely worth visiting nearby if you are in need of anything. They're one of these sort of bigger stores in Seattle that's not like Greg's. Greg's is probably outside of like REI, the biggest sort of local bike shop, but Montlake also has a big selection of bicycles compared to many other stores around the area. So they're a nice mainstay here. And then I've ridden this many a times. I remember one time I was doing this in the dark and I was so scared that I basically just put in all the effort I had because I was so nervous about cars running me over from behind. In the dark, and also being so much used to cars and definitely a lot faster than before, it's not nearly as scary. Because I think a lot of these sort of places, it really depends on your speed, how high this traffic stress will be. But here is that sort of bridge I was talking about before, that if you took the trail, you can connect onto that directly and then start using some of the neighborhood streets to go on. Or I believe if right here to the right also will end up at the parking lot to the Arboretum, which the trail connects to, and you can use that. But then the downside is that if you use this, you'll still end up here. And here is where cars cannot pass me. There's a car behind me. They're chill. They're not honking at me or anything, but it's basically, you just gotta ride knowing that there's someone behind you and that they can't go. And for some people that might be sort of uncomfortable, but here we're going to be approaching that brand new infrastructure. So we can already see the new graded path as well as the new sort of curb opening here to the right. So now there is two ways you can connect onto this. There's that little crossing at Roanoke, but then there's this much wider, much more natural path right here, as now we get a new climb to enjoy, as they added this really nice path that does climb up. Before, I'm pretty sure this was like flatter, so I think with the addition of the overpass, they graded this as well. There's people still taking pictures. I mean, this is still relatively new stuff, but yeah, that video definitely had a ton of engagement, ton of people really saw the pros or had thoughts about this. But now is the first time I'm using it on a proper ride, as we're now on the bridge. And I would say one of the main things that people pointed out was that there's just so much landscaping, and why wasn't the path wider? I think a huge reason for that definitely is the sound dampening of the highway below, because it's actually quite reasonable riding it like this. So there's this viewpoint that was right there. It's a nice spot to just get a view of the lake and everything and look eastward. And now we are entering this pretty new sort of crossing intersection, sort of, because normally you go to the right, you go up Shelby, but what we're going to do today is go on this new 520 extension. And it's worth pointing out that I feel like this little bit can get pretty hectic, so definitely just slow down there, look for other riders. But we are doing this because, one, it's just way less bumpy. Shelby and Hamlin, I feel like, are some of the most notoriously bumpy parts, and it also is a steeper hill, so you actually get a lower grade experience here, where you can go straight towards the Bill Dawson Trail, which is going to be closed next summer or in the spring for a long extended period of time. But now you can use this that I'm pointing out to get right onto Montlake Boulevard, where you can connect north towards the U District. So I really like it. This is really neat. This is probably one of the more consequential sort of things from all the Montlake opening stuff, because I mean, before we had that, we still did have a sort of a trail that was workable to get to the other side, but we never had an alternative to Shelby and Hamlin before. So you get onto here now, and admittedly it is not the best. You're basically on the sidewalk, and then up ahead there's the Montlake Bridge, which is quite narrow, especially if you try to ride here near a Husky game or something on the weekends. It can get pretty busy, so rule of thumb, always just slow the way down. So I am now, you'll see like 10 miles per hour about, as I notice some pedestrians ahead. And yeah, you just want to take your time. A lot of people like to take photos. And then this bridge also can have crossings as well. So if you're unfortunate enough to get caught behind one of those, that can be a decent time sink, as it takes a long time to both set up and down. So off we go, continue here now, well into the University District area. You'll see Husky Stadium to the right, also a link station here, and this link stations are getting more and more useful this region, as we've expanded so many new stations within the past couple of years, and will continue to do so in the years to come. So especially once it connects the 2 line and 1 line, then you feasibly can get from here to the airport or to all the way to downtown Redmond. So just opens so many avenues for you to use your bike. So yeah, now it's a little bit of a climb here as we enter into the Rainier Vista, a big gathering spot that I feel has been used so much by cyclists. And one random, I don't think it's superstition, but like one interesting common pattern is I found that cyclists use this farther bridge and opening here, and pedestrians on the right. I think it's just by nature that bikes can afford sort of taking the longer way. And here I actually ran into a friend, Jessica of the channel. She actually works for UW riding bikes, so here's gonna stop and have a quick conversation. And then off we go again, because there's no audio here. You already missed out on me shouting hi and all that. And one of the things I commented here was that I really love meeting you and all of the community out in the wild. And so oftentimes when I pass by this area, the Burke Gilman, I run into someone, just because this whole Rainier Vista area, there's like a couple benches are sort of known as sort of the meeting benches. It's just a really nice spot for people to come by on their ride, because it connects from the Burke Gilman Trail easily, as well as the east side in Bellevue from the 520 Trail. So definitely a very nice spot to start your rides from. And then now we are officially on the Burke Gilman, and we're going to be riding it about 8 miles all the way to the north till we hit Lake Forest Park and then into Bothell, and it works. So this section now is before University Village. It's sort of an outdoor shopping mall. I don't want to call it a strip mall because it's like pretty high end. A lot of like the sort of more recent stores are there, and it is a bit of a sleeper, I'd say, for bicycles, because I'd say that people don't think of it very often, but actually the bicycle parking there is quite nice. There's a backcountry store that you can actually return a lot of the online purchases from backcountry there for free, as well as of course there's a bike mechanic shop there. There's ample bike parking, and then for food, there's a lot of nice takeout options too. There's the Shake Shack, and then there's some other places that are easy to grab and go. And then for drinks, there's coffee, there's bubble tea, there's everything. So the only downside I'd say about it, you'll see up ahead, is the entry is a little bit awkward. You're obviously gonna have to contend with cars to get into that plaza. But I'd say once you're in that plaza, yeah, it's also a very neat place to stop. And I mean, I'm gonna be calling that out all throughout the ride, or just different places to check out. But this corridor here, this section, can be quite heavy with pedestrian traffic during certain seasons of the year, especially once it gets to the summertime. I can't make a big enough point about this, is that the trail is definitely meant for sort of slower speeds. On the winter time, it's a little bit more manageable, but if you plan to ride fast or ride in a big group, I almost highly recommend you come up with some alternative routes. There are ways to use the road to go through this whole northwest section of the lake. The Burke Gilman obviously is the cleanest and easiest, but sorry, turning back to what I was talking about earlier with the U Village, here is one way you can turn in, and then just turn left and you'll get right there. There's other turn-ins in the future, but that's the one I found that I use the most often. Let me know if you guys have others. But talking about trail etiquette some more, yeah, I'd say definitely it is gonna be a world where we just, as the faster moving vehicle, just have to yield to everyone else. And the trail speed limits are put at 15 miles per hour. I don't try to tread too much higher than that. I think it is reasonably set, especially during the busy seasons. But as mentioned, this is New Year's Eve, and there's, even on a nice day like this, relatively speaking, there's not going to be much traffic here. So we have a little bit more room to breathe. But yeah, that's just something to know. So depending on where you're at, because when I was starting riding out in Seattle in 2017, I was going at like 12 miles per hour, and the Burke Gilman was basically the ride I did all the time, and it's what got me into cycling, to be honest. So it's really a space that really should be treasured. And yeah, we're here now. As we go into this section, there's a way that you can connect onto Ravenna Boulevard over to the left. So this is a nice section, but also it's one of the sections where there's sort of a big bend. So as you saw with that cyclist coming through, sometimes you don't have the best visibility. And then this is where I was really sad to sort of miss out on my audio, because here there's actually some updated signaling and signs here. As you'll see, there's this nice place for you to rest your feet. There's a bike button, and then this intersection is actually a no turn on red, and they don't do it just by the white and black text that they sign that they just assume people read, but there's a light up one, and then this driver just completely ignores it. In this moment in this video, I'm like yelling at him, no right turn on red, no right turn on red. And I was just flabbergasted. You see me just putting my hand out here, I'm like, what happened here? And I mean, yeah, as clear as they make the signs, it's just sometimes you really just need to watch out. I was commenting, I was trying to sort of praise the situation of how they've made this a much safer sort of crossing, because there are a lot of riders and people that use it, but clearly that driver had other things to do. So always keep your head on a swivel, watch out for things like this, but it is good to know that really there are many crossings here on the Burke Gilman Trail. So that was the other part I probably should mention, is definitely just really look out for cars. You'd never know, and sometimes you'll even find cars on the trail, so that's a very common occurrence. And up here to the left, I'm pointing out that the Counterbalance bike shop used to be here. So unfortunately, in terms of bike shops directly on the trail sections we're riding, is not much. I think there's a brewery and bike shop closer to the right coming up. And then sort of behind us, there was Recycle Cycles, but they're also not going to be there coming soon. So yeah, unfortunately, there's a trend of bike shops sort of not existing anymore, but there is a couple. And then maybe once you head closer towards the Wedgwood area, it's not too far of a ride to mend bicycles as well. But generally speaking, yeah, it'd be great to have those bike amenities close to the trail. But yeah, that's sort of the direction that we're headed now, because just having a pump out here or anything else can sometimes go a long way, especially for those that haven't ridden in a while or just getting started or whatnot. So yeah, and then here I navigate a situation with the two pedestrians. I am calling out on your left. I'm really bummed that I didn't catch my transmitter mic not being on. It's gonna come back, but I'm just gonna sort of commentate my way through. So yeah, the other thing about trail etiquette is definitely call out when you're passing people, and then I'd say really it's just looking out for others. It's not gonna be right here, but the biggest two things to look out for, my personal experience, is definitely just unpredictable moving elements. So that would be usually like pets or children. You just want to really anticipate for that. And then here there's this brewery that stands out. They've been here a long time. They have a ton of bike racks, but they also have like this sign that tells you that you get $1 off your first pint if you bike in, and that's really neat. I think drinking and biking, I don't recommend it to do at the same time, but I personally don't drink, so I'm missing out on the big culture there. I'd say a lot of people like to drink after they ride, but just for health reasons, I've never drank alcohol since college, so I'm more of a boba type of person. So I definitely load up on more carbs and sugar. And then there's going to be a couple of turnouts here that will get you towards Sandpoint Way. But in terms of what's really coming up next, there's a few sort of big parks. There's like Magnuson Park and then Chris Matthews Beach Park sort of in this area. So I would say amenities wise, I guess there's like not as much, or like in terms of attractions compared to the rest of the Burke Gilman. Like in the middle of the Burke Gilman near Fremont Wallingford, you have like all the biggest parks. You have like restaurants every which way. As we get more deeper into here now, it's gonna be generally like a lot more residential, I would say. And then but there's still nice calm riding. It's also sort of quiets a bit, and as we get closer to the north end, there's actually been a lot of work done on the Burke Gilman in terms of like repaving, so it gets more and more smooth. I hope that the section near University Village will get patched up in the years to come. I feel like I have fair confidence that will happen given SDOT's sort of record here. As you see, all these sort of black sort of patches are just like areas where they've really fixed up the routes and things like that, and it makes a whole huge bunch of difference. And yeah, really navigationally in this area, there is really not much to think about. It's just a nice ride forward. This crossing in particular is pretty notorious. There's always seems to be a car here. And then this is, I believe, Pathways Park on the right. I've never stopped here before, but it's another just notable area to just pass by, sort of just a landmark, because I don't know how many times I think my Strava, I checked afterwards, I've only ridden this full loop maybe less than a dozen amount of times, maybe like 6 times. And it's surprising. I think maybe it's because I've ridden all the sections and pieces as well, but like I think I have almost every mile of this memorized just in my head. Like I could just replay it back. I don't know if any of you are like that, but maybe that's also why I like making videos about routes and stuff. But yeah, you saw there, I was going so far away from the dog because I honestly have a fear of dogs regardless whether I'm on a bicycle or not, but I have an extra fear of dogs when I'm on a bicycle because I've had so many stories of people crashing due to dogs, whether it just be ones that run out from the driveway and they're on a downhill, or whether it be like on the trail, their leash just catches on somebody, things like that. There's just so many incidents, and yeah, it's not to be messed around with. So leave some room and then go forth, and then here call out on your left, and then I keep going straight. As generally speaking, for some reason in my direction of cycling, there wasn't a huge amount of people. There was definitely a lot more people going contraflow, or maybe that's just a bias thing because I'm going at a certain speed, so I don't catch as many cyclists. I don't know if that's true or not. But generally, I really do like the clockwise direction. It just makes all the turns just simplify. But as said before, I think only the sort of the south end of it is where I think it just is a lot cleaner to do it clockwise versus doing counterclockwise. So now we entered this section of the Burke Gilman Trail where it sort of splits into two, and it's fine to ride. I mean, it's nice that there's more room-ish, technically speaking. Like, there's room to pass, as you saw with those two cyclists, but probably not more than two cycle widths apart. So definitely be riding with the group. Don't just take up the whole lane, and then runners tend to go onto the gravel shoulder. But yeah, the Burke Gilman overall, I would still say, is a decently bumpy trail. It's not the smoothest trail out there, so keep your hands on the on the bars, and you'll be thankful for it, because sometimes it can definitely catch you out of for a surprise. And so they don't mark them as much here. I mean, they mark it in some places, but yeah, the Burke Gilman is just a long-standing trail that has, even with all this patchwork, a lot of bumps and stuff. So here we see a fast moving group, and yeah, I don't know. I'd be just uncomfortable taking a huge group on here unless we were designated like going pretty slow. So but for one example is like the RSVP event. They put the route on the Burke Gilman, and it's just all clogged up, and like you just can't go. You don't want to go that fast, so I guess it's fine. But there isn't that much room on here, so definitely just pay in mind when route planning. But as a solo rider, I don't really see any big issues. Even in the peak summer times, you just need to make way and yield to the pedestrians and other people. So what else to call out around here? So this is now the opening to the Magnuson Park. You'll note it by this cycle track here. So going into Magnuson Park, it's a big space. It's actually not as close as you think. It's still like a ways down, but it's a big area to explore on its own. So that could be a destination. And then we saw there was the first sighting of some roller skis. And then I'd say there's a lot of very, very interesting trail users. I think the funnest one I've seen, and I'm really sad I never caught it on camera, is that I've seen a unicyclist dad with a trailer. So he's just like on this big wheel, and then like this big bar just that he's holding, and then behind them is connected to a trailer. And it was like the most sort of badass thing I've ever seen, just him on a unicycle on the Burke Gilman taking his child somewhere. So that was major respects, but you'll see all types of wheels on here. Unfortunately, I think here in North America, there isn't that culture that I've seen even in Europe and like Netherlands of like motored powered vehicles on trails, or like Vespas or whatever, like that type of thing. Like there is a lot common, even in like Hong Kong sometimes. You'll definitely see that more often just because those vehicles are just everywhere. I've only seen it once, where I've seen it on the I90 Trail, and I was sort of flabbergasted. So yeah, thankfully that's not a thing, but you'll run into all sorts of users. Definitely e-bikes and stuff that can go pretty fast, so that's another thing to watch out for. And so I talked a lot about trail etiquette with working with riders that are slower than you, or people are slower. But yeah, when working with things faster than you, I think the best advice I have here is to be predictable, and don't just like move around or try to swivel around the road. Always, whenever you are moving along, to look back. So that's a principle that will never do you wrong, especially if you're going towards traffic on a road. If you want to shift to the left, make sure that there's nothing behind you or coming up behind you. So that's the simplest thing to it. And then if you keep that, usually you'll be okay. I find that a lot of the problem situations is when you turn suddenly or whatnot. But anyway, here You'll see some tennis courts, but also downhill there, and that leads you right to the Cascade Bike Club, their headquarters. If you're a member there, you can stop by. They have some sort of amenities you can do. I don't think they do as much as just like actual formal member meetings and things like that, but it is a big space, and I'm pretty sure they're welcome to their members, especially if you just need the restroom or the shower or something. But I don't think that's like an officially listed benefit, but sometimes they host events there. And then going straight now, we have another big crossing, and then yeah, I just gotta say how nice the weather is today. This section of the Burke Gilman is quite dry. Not all of it will be dry because some of it is pretty covered with trees and shadows, so it can be still relatively damp, but this part is quite fine and nice. And then the other thing to call out about riding this is that the gradient is not exactly 0. It's quite flat, but there's like a very minor gradient one way, so you'll notice that maybe if you go as you go along, but generally it's not too bad at all. And yeah, I mean, this is just such a classic ride. Like if you're gonna do anything in Seattle, it's just and it's just accommodates so many different comfort levels. Just check out the Burke Gilman and you'll run into so many of the top sites and things to do around here. So I think coming up here is this the no, it's not yet. So I was thinking that's Chris Matthews Beach Park, but we're not that close quite yet. The next thing I think that's going to show up is either the park sign or the Lake Forest Park, entering into another city, which is exciting because I think in total the Lake Washington Loop must cover at least like 5 cities, and technically speaking. So there's Seattle, Lake Forest Park, pretty sure there's Bothell, Kenmore, Kirkland, Bellevue, Renton. So yeah, that's a good list. All well square in King County though. And then we are now in this sort of residential areas. It's interesting, the signs aren't always consistent. Some of them is going to be a stop, some of them is going to be a yield. I think they put a stop at a lot of the heavier traffic ones, but generally speaking, cars do and I think are supposed to stop for you, but they put those, I guess, just to get cyclists in the right state of mind. As we enter this section now, there is some wet leaves on the ground, and that gives me a good segue to talk about how important it is to acknowledge the wet leaves that are on the ground. As a Seattle rider, there's just going to be a lot less traction when you're riding over it. So basically what that means is that don't turn over them, don't brake so hard right over them. Just the area time where you do need that grip on the road, you're not going to get very much. So that is definitely a big hazard and an easy way to get into a crash. So heads up that. And then here is the section I was calling out before that there's been a lot of repaving done. So that's awesome. And then looking at this guy's bike, he has a really big side mirror. I sort of like that. I got these side mirrors that I use on my drop bar bikes that connects to the bar ends, so it's sort of looking down. It's a lot more subtle. But if you don't want subtle and you just want a big mirror like that, that can be really helpful, especially on a trail like this. I tend to rely on my radar a ton, and it's awesome, but it's not great on trails because other people aren't going that much faster than me, so it doesn't detect them all the time. But a mirror is always foolproof. So now we are at the Matthews Beach Park. So this is a bit of a story time, but now this is another park with a nice restroom. But when I started riding, I had a ride where for the first time I made it to sort of up ahead. There's this mod pizza there, maybe just a few more miles ahead from here, and that was the longest ride I've ever done. So I was so tired. I didn't know what to bring. I didn't bring bars or anything, so I just sat down and ate a whole pizza. And then I thought it was a good idea to start riding back, but my stomach disagreed with me, and the pizza ended up on the side of the trail. And I just felt so bad that I went to that park. I just like napped there for an hour and then slowly made my way back. So that was a lesson that I'll never forget, to have to eat. So it's just small increments through a ride like this. Like any long endurance effort, you're just going to need the sort of carbohydrates, energy to keep going, and then Also, yeah, not to push yourself so hard after a huge meal. So luckily that has not happened to me again, but that was definitely a time to remember. So yeah, definitely a lot of memories along this trail now that it's been almost a fair decade that I moved here. So I really do love Seattle and just the surrounding area. I love the Pacific Northwest. I'm from Vancouver, BC, so this weather, the green, the mountains, it's definitely baked into my childhood. I was gonna say DNA, but I guess DNA doesn't necessarily correspond with where you're born. But anyway, this section also, like in the spring season, I think we just passed by it. Just there's the sakura blossoms. So yeah, you can see cherry blossoms in a lot of different neighborhoods in Seattle, or just in the Pacific Northwest, like in Vancouver. There's just like random neighborhoods that have cherry blossoms, so that's pretty neat. Another thing to call out here is that if you're riding on a windy day, not this exact section, but there's the Burke Gilman might not always be the best place to ride because there's just always fallen trees as a result of windstorms. So yeah, I don't want anyone here to get squished by a tree, so pay heed to that. We'll sort of see it more up ahead in this other notorious section with the big trees, but you saw from when we were driving before, there's just a lot of trees everywhere, so it's almost like clockwork that it happens whenever there's a big wind event in the area. But otherwise, not much to really say or think about. You're just surrounded by big homes, nice homes on the left and the right. So I guess at this point I may talk about some of the other nice trails to ride on of similar length. The Burke Gilman, if you keep going on it, it eventually turns into the Sammamish River Trail, and then that can connect onto the Marymore Connector Trail onto the East Lake Sammamish Trail, and that goes on really for like 30 miles, so tons there to ride on, but not directly connected right now to the Burke Gilman that are really popular and I feel really nice in King County is the Cedar River Trail. It's pretty out of the way in Renton, but it's probably one of the in terms of like the bumpy level, it's probably the least bumpy. That also goes for like 10-12 miles and it turns into a long gravel section you can keep riding on. There is the Green River Trail and Duwamish Trail sort of in South Seattle and connecting towards West Seattle. There's lots to do and try out, honestly. One huge perk of riding in the States is just the amount of rail trails there are and just trails in general. And then I think I even filmed a video recently, I didn't post it yet, about the Seuss Creek Trail. That one's also pretty fun. So yeah, there's a lot of trails to explore, but in terms of nice long flat trails, I think the first few I mentioned are some of my top recommendations just to go ride and do. And sorry, I didn't mention the Centennial Trail. That's in another county, but that goes for 30 miles one way. And they are in progress of working on the Centennial Trail South that will eventually become part of the Eastrail, and that will be insane because you imagine you're riding along this trail that goes for 30 miles, and then with the Redmond connector you get on the Eastrail and that goes on for another 30 miles. You literally can ride 120 miles just purely on trail going out and back. So that's the days that I hope I grow up to and can enjoy all of that. But back there you see there was a lot of like dirt on the ground. I'm pretty sure that was sort of a fallen tree or mini sort of mud landslide or whatever. So you can see a lot of the vegetation here is not on super stable. So like moreover from this wind, like when we have a super wet event, I think a lot of the trees in this area are some of the ones that have fallen down or caused issues. So so something to look out there. And then going through these areas, some of these crossings get harder and harder to notice cars. The visibility simply just isn't as great, so I'm just going to tell you repeatedly just to take caution with that. But yeah, I think trails are awesome. It's something I don't really ride
too much on the regular, just because they're not as close to where I live, and I just love hills too much. Trails have the huge benefit of generally being flat because they're usually built from sort of railroad tracks, so they're already not meant to be graded very high. And I'm someone that likes to see the gradient numbers go up. As masochistic as that sounds, I just love when I'm on my road bike. I just love doing climbs. Just the experience of like going up and down. I think it's just, I don't know how to describe it. I think for me, it just gives a huge sense of like checking off a box, like an achievement every time you go up a hill. And I'm just sort of addicted to it, to be honest. It's this positive feedback loop that keeps going. And then generally, yeah, I'm a much smaller rider, so hills, relatively speaking, I know are a lot easier for me. But yeah, we have this section here, and I'd say that the Lake Washington Loop is like a huge first step for many people, and I really highly recommend all of you to try it at least once if you're cycling this area. I feel like it's that stepping stone from Lake Washington Loop to like Seattle to Portland. That might sound like a huge jump, but it really isn't, because I feel like there's just like this 50% rule I like to use. Like if you can ride 50% of the distance you're looking for on the day of, you can sort of make it. So like the fact that if you complete the Lake Washington Loop sort of comfortably, 50 miles, I'd sort of have high confidence that you'll be able to make 100 miles with a full day. If you can do that. And that's just nature of how humans work. We aren't very good at anaerobic or like sprinting or heavy efforts, but if we do efforts under our threshold, yeah, like everyone has experience. Like you can walk around like all day when you're visiting a new area, but if you tell us to sprint like 400 meters, like that's really, really tough. So it's just how it is, and it's just so magnified on a bicycle. And then over there was a recumbent bike that we saw. That was pretty neat. I've only seen them like on TV or like on GCN. I've never tried riding one. I feel like I'd be too scared because I feel like the visibility definitely changes a lot. But here there's another dog I take note of. Definitely try to avoid. But yeah, just seeing other bicycles are pretty neat. You definitely see me riding my Brompton there. I was calling out on your left and they raised up a hand. But yeah, sometimes pedestrians react very differently to call out, so also pay that in mind. Honestly, space and speed are always going to be the best policy here, because there was that one unfortunate incident on the East Lakes and Mammoth Trail where there was sort of a head-on collision, and then there was like a head trauma to the pedestrian that got hit. You just don't want to be in that situation for or against. So definitely when riding on these trails, just can't stress enough to pay that in mind. But what I was saying earlier was, yeah, like the bikes, I will do a video going over all my bikes. I think I have a pretty obscene amount, but the bikes I have range all the way from Bromptons to road bikes to e-bikes to now very recently I got my first hardtail bike from a friend. So I would not buy it on my own. He just gave me an extremely great deal for the hardtail. So yeah, now I have an off-road bike too. So but I don't think I will dabble more in off-road, but you're not gonna see me doing anything technical. No real downhill mountain biking, but in terms of like cross-country riding, I think there's some potential, just because people tell me that the gravel, that the mountain bikes is where the truly steepest climbs are at, and that's sort of what I'm looking for, because when riding in anything, like the more you do it, the better you get at it. And it's amazing, just in the past few years, like how my fitness and just the ability to ride more miles has changed. It's pretty interesting. I think once you train up to a certain point, it's sort of like that long-term memory is there. Like you can always catch it back up to it. I don't know if it's a physiological thing, but a lot of it's also knowledge-based and experience-based. Like the fact that you understand your body, how it works, how it fatigues, what you need to be comfortable on the saddle. Once you like that knowledge doesn't go away. So coming back to riding, like it's a lot easier to know, like, yeah, like don't wear underwear underneath your bike shorts, or like simple things like that, all the way to like, oh, like I know how to place my cleats because like I have experience and I've tried different things that just don't work, or like I know how to set my saddle height. These are things that just come with time, and I think that practice. But obviously bike fits are a huge recommendation, especially to start. I feel like the way I would put it is that they put you right into like the 85% mark, and then the rest of the way, the very difficult task of the final 20% in any job is something that just takes time, that you'll figure out with time, maybe together with your bike fitter, but it's not usually like a one and done type of thing. Bike fits are a process because like humans, as much as we like to stay static, we're changing all the time as well, so your bike fit changes over the time. But here I'm taking a gel. My nutrition strategy for this ride honestly is not the best. I sort of want to just get through and make sure I just kept talking, not too many stops. So all I brought were 3 gels. I'm gonna be honest that this is gonna run me a little low. You'll notice that my energy level definitely later on in the video goes quite a bit down, but here I'm about like, I think about 2 hours in, so this is my second gel here. And yeah, if you want to ride, one thing I'd say that really can increase your ability to ride further and longer, faster, however you want to say it, is eat more than you think, or like get used to eating. That's something that I didn't realize, like just how much you can eat. Like when you start as a very beginner, you don't eat at all because you don't think it's that necessary, or like you just think it's like you're doing one exercise. But when you're riding for like hours on end, you can consume a lot more carbs than you think. And if you go at any point in your ride physically hungry, at least in the sense of like optimal, it's probably not too optimal to get to that point. You sort of just want to keep topping yourself off. But honestly, riding doesn't have to always be fast. So I mean, you can ride till you're hungry, eat till you're super full, and then keep going again. That just might not be the quote unquote like most efficient way about it. So I definitely would make sure to pack enough nutrients, keep eating, whatever your preferences are. Some people like solid foods. Me, I'm really lazy, and I've gotten used to some of these gels and can go on off of them. So that is definitely very personal preference. But I'd say to any relatively new rider that wants to take on longer challenges, to get used to eating on the bike. And of course taking water and drink. It's not nearly as bad in the winter because we're not sweating all of the water out. Back to the ride. We are now at sort of the next big checkpoint, as you'll notice the plaza with the Starbucks and the Mod Pizza here. There also is a blue sign sort of noting the Burke Gilman interurban connector. It's a decent way between the two, but Perkins Way is a huge part of that. It's a really decent climb, a really fun descent on nice days, so you can go check that out. And then here we're just gonna go along. There's a few cuts during this part because I'm really wrestling with some of the batteries running out and things like that. And finally I noticed that my mic wasn't on for this whole time. So hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you prefer the sort of post commentated style or just in the moment sort of commentary. I don't mind either. I think they both have its pros and cons. I just wonder what your perspective is. But anyway, we're gonna get on with the ride now as we make it closer towards Log Boom Park.
We're gonna continue here. Watch out next time. Yeah, so that person really cut it close. If I didn't stop, they don't really have an escape route. But anyway, we're gonna take a quick restroom break at Log Boom. I just had another GoPro battery change. We're on this full one, and then 63% of Enduro one. I think we'll make it, but it's rare I try to make such a long extended one cut video. Each one typically lasts just about like 45 minutes, an hour. On your left. So But it's working out so far. If anything, it's my mic that's gonna run out next. So I'll try to keep a tab on that so that at least for the final portion, even if it's not crisp audio, you can at least hear something. So, because the receiver I have connected to my GoPro tends to outlast both the transmitters. But anyway, sorry. Now we're in this section on the north end of the lake. Just a little bit of a right left to Log Boom Park. On your left. And right now it's about 2:40. So I'm also fighting sunset a little bit. I think it will be just about dark when I get back. But I just want to stop and use the restroom before I keep going. Or should I just keep going? I think I might just keep going just to save on some time. Oh wait, no, I probably should. No, I should stop. But yeah, here you can see a lot of the new Log Boom Park there to the right. There's the big restroom building over there in blue. We'll make a quick pit stop before I keep going. I realized that I had garbage in my pockets I wanted to throw out. All right, let's get back going along here. As now we'll soon head into Juanita after this last section that will be on the Burke Gilman Trail. So this next transition also is sort of notable. There have been some changes because you saw back there the signs light up now with these Burke Gilman crossings, as well as this street here to our right has bike lanes now. So it's actually the cleanest way probably to use this road to connect onto the Lake Washington Loop in the sense that climbs Juanita. So I'll show you what that looks like. So probably here at this one or the next intersection, we pretty much can already just change over to ride on the road over there. I think it's this one right here. Yeah, you see there's like a bike crossing sign too. Let's use it. So that's very interesting. I didn't notice that. So they have a beacon bike crossing sign now. And then this leads you onto a buffered bike lane. You could transition later on the Burke Gilman there, but you have to purposely not take the underpass, so it's sort of easy to miss. I think this would be the way forward for most people and what I recommend now if you're just intending to ride the loop. So, and then you have a nice lane to go off. And I didn't even notice that bike crossing before. So even I get noticed with new things all the time as I ride this loop. As this transitions you on to the new version of this bridge, which is really awesome. I covered this before too. It's sort of fun seeing all the different pieces that I've shown over the years in one ride. But yeah, another now just easy way to go across to Juanita Drive as we will exit Kenmore and start climbing into Kirkland. nice. And we have a light here. So there's a bike detector here, but since my bike, I'm not guaranteed the trigger, I'm just gonna hit this button.
Wait.
And this will lead us right into the biggest climb of this whole loop. It's about 6%, 5-6% gradient, but I think it's like 400 feet or more. So it's definitely not a short climb. And it's definitely a good way to train for a lot of other things. So we'll see if we can catch up to that guy over there ahead of us. But we are going straight on some of this new infrastructure right into the bike lanes. And I'm pretty sure there's still ongoing construction here, especially on the other side. So we'll see what we find. I don't know what it looks like right now, but I'm sure it won't be super pleasant. Yeah, it's not super steep, but it definitely goes for a while. So watch your pacing. Reminds me of the hell climb that I just did. I just try to keep it at a reasonable pace right now. So let's go. On your left. Had to wait for braking traffic there. We keep going. Yeah, this section took a lot of construction and it's a lot nicer than before, especially for the uphill direction. So many years riding here, and you're just with the cars. So now there's a wider painted bike lane. Okay, we're hitting sevens. And we'll see what the total elevation is, because I think I might have overstated it. We'll see. We're only at 1,000 right now. That section was interesting. It was raised, so we keep going. And this is the sloggy part. Not as steep, but you still actually have a decent ways to go. Oh no, hit the red light. Oh, I've not seen these new flex posts. That's sort of an awkward transition. I see. Still gotta count on the, watch out for the right hooks and just keep going straight. It flattens out a lot more and you're almost there. So close. Yeah, that's like the tallest climb of this whole ride. We can see the end now though. It's basically after that light. When I first did this, I couldn't make it up. Long ago. I had to stop in the middle. Okay. The actual segment though goes on for another light, but in terms of the main climb, we're pretty much through. Steer University. And here we go. Nice. We need to climb. Done. Now we're gonna enter some constructions. We'll see what it's like. But on the downhill for this section, yeah. There is a tiny bit of a shoulder, but not all the way through. So always best to just keep it safe. Now it's about 3 p.m. We'll see how much of the darkness we run into. We've done most of the riding. It's about 15 miles to where we need to go. So I'm confident we'll make it in time. Down we go. One of the few, I pretty much the only extended downhill on this whole road. Bike merged with traffic. Yep, there's definitely construction, so we'll have to just ride with the cars. Hopefully, I don't know how long this one will last, but hopefully open before next season. Shoulder work. All right, we got bumps. Yep, that was a bump. We'll see. There's more. There's definitely more. Yeah. Oh, there's the bump. It's nicely labeled. Bump. And we keep going. Yeah, this might get a little hectic because usually, well, there's not much of shoulder here anyway, but maybe there'll be room for people to pass before. Just make sure never to corner yourself where you don't have an escape route at all. Bump. Yep. Yeah, the whole road's just a lot narrower right now. There's one patient car behind me. Guys, this section is actually flat. And here, there's a big pothole-like thing. So looks like they're doing some of these curb cuts and repaving. I think we passed by most of the construction. We'll see as we're down in this section now. Yeah, Holmes Point here to the right is a good sort of extra climb. You can go down and come up the other side. It's part of the 7 Hills of Kirkland route, but it's a classic and I highly recommend it for you climbers out there to just add it in as part of this. No cars behind me. Let's keep going down. It's really not that steep for a lot of this. It's like less than -4. But Yeah. And this is where, on my first attempt of doing the Lake Washington Loop, I got flat riding downhill. I had to take a bus to get to Kirkland Bicycle in downtown Kirkland. Whoops, that was bumpy. This is an Amazon car turning out. Let's see if he moves. We're okay. And we're almost there, to the bottom. Yeah, this shoulder's not great, or this bike lane, because of all the debris, as well as the garbage cans. So I'm generally hovering a bit on the outside of it. You can start to see the lakes again. To the right, there's a really nice view. And that's about it. That's the descent. So now is another nice park to the right that recently got a bit of a makeover, Juanita Bay. Really nice restrooms. And I realized during the winter, I was counting on getting water from the parks, but I forget sometimes they turn the taps off. So you might have to rely on places like Starbucks or the other sort of centers that we pass by. But yeah, this Juanita Beach. But we're gonna go straight through here. As I definitely do want to make it back on time. Yeah, Juanita Beach Park, not Bay Park. And now we're in the thick of Kirkland and slowly approaching the busy hours of the day. So take more care here. As you definitely can notice the difference in the east side versus Seattle riding vibes. But we're gonna turn right here. It is also where you do have options. I think this is 98th. If you follow on 98th, it'll take you all the way to Market Street. The other cool thing is that there's this cut through that goes through this little park area. And I think it's nice. Same thing, just take it super slow and ride through. But I'll show it to you because I usually like to take this route. There's this nice curb opening here. And then you go through. And there's views. Views to the right and left. It's mainly a pedestrian space, so I don't ride too fast through here. But it's a nice break through all the cars and a way for you to enjoy this park and area. So highly, if you're not in a big group, not in a rush, just riding through here is pretty nice. And it goes to the exact same spot, which is Market Street up ahead. which is another hill, as some of you can maybe sort of see it on camera now. Not nearly as long as the one we just climbed, but just about as steep. On your left. And as we enter into downtown Kirkland, this is also a fantastic spot with a lot of amenities. So you'll see up ahead. There's this bus lane, which there is actually a bus behind us this time, but usually you take this lane here as we ride up the hill. This is another hill in the 7 Hills of Kirkland. And yeah, let's do it. You can already see the top. Let's go. Yeah, they put the 2 good climbs back to back on this road. And that's about it. And now it's a downhill, where I'll show you up ahead, but there is also another 2 options. I like going by the Marina Pavilion just because there's a nice restroom and view, but you can also turn left in the future intersection here that just continues on with Lake Street. when descending these type of roads, yeah, definitely look out for turning cars. For this part, you can definitely get quick enough to be at the speed limit of 25 miles per hour. So I like to stay around here. Also, when it is wet, today's not wet, but when it is wet, the green paint gets really slick. So you want to watch out for that. Watch out to see what this guy's doing, this orange car. And yeah. Keep going down. And as I said, you can either turn left and then right onto Lake Street if you want to keep going. But I will just show you often what I do in my favorite detour, which is through the Pavilion straight ahead. Just because there's a restroom there, and it technically is faster because there's no lights. But yeah, so you can either turn left here, which the loop likes to say, or just really slow down and then go straight here. Use a sharp turn. And you're now definitely in downtown Kirkland. And on a day like this where it's relatively calm, this is really nice. There's restrooms right there. I'm gonna take a tiny quick stop to check on the batteries, and then we'll keep on going. But I just wanted to show you the view. As you can see, the Seattle skyline on the other side. Really nice. And let's see if this water works. This bottle filler. Oh, has water. Wow, nice. The log boom one didn't have water. I haven't drank too much because it's been pretty cold, but still nice. So we're gonna continue on from here. We're here at this intersection on Lake Street, waiting for this Amazon car to turn left, where we're gonna turn right here. The ride is still extremely nice, though this next part, I like to call it the door zone. So definitely just look out. You'll see why I call it that very shortly. It'll be very obvious. But let's go take a look. Now it's about 3:20. The sun is slowly moving down, but still super nice. As I said before, riding in the Seattle winter, if you don't get showered on, is considered a huge success. So that still holds true for this ride right now. And I think the interesting challenge of this ride so far has been finding the energy in things to talk about for 3 hours straight. But we'll see how I did. There's a nice cafe here. Forgot the name escapes me right now, but just so many options once you're in this area. It's for a nice stop as well. So whether you do the north, south, or mid-lake loop, you'll find good rest stops. You do the full lake loop, you can make a whole day adventure and find places to stop. On your left. that was relatively light for the door zone. Usually it's much busier. Watch out for runners too. You never know. And we'll go straight ahead. Big sign this time, Lake Washington Loop. Yeah, the sign's everywhere, so it's very helpful. Gives you good confidence you're on the right track. Okay, they've added a lot of signs. I see 3 signs in a row saying Lake Washington Loop. In case you'd be confused. Alright, so entering into this next section is the most confusing part. How to get past the 520 I90 corridor in Bellevue. So I'd say there's really 2 things. If you're just trying to get to the I90, it's closer to go through Medina. If you're riding through downtown Bellevue, I personally much prefer just to ride on 112th, which is what we're going to do today. It involves one hill, good hill-sized hill too, but it's the most direct. But you also do need to ride with some traffic on 112th, but there's no really avoid riding with traffic in Bellevue. So I live there. I honestly do like riding in Bellevue, but the Bellevue that I experience is the hilly ones, hilly residential roads, where there isn't really micro infrastructure really needed. It's just, and I love riding there. It's all the hills I could ever want, 8% grade, 10% grade, just miles from my door. That's like, after I've been traveling for the past little while, I realized that's not as common as you think it is. Just having those type of hills, something like Zoo Hill, it's not that far away from where you live. So. Keep going here. And I think I totally overestimated the elevation for this base Lake Washington Loop route. I think it's closer to just like 2,000. But I'll pull up the phone number, and I'll also put the ride with GPS down below. But yeah, traffic's gonna start picking up as it gets closer to 4 p.m. To get on this big road for a second. And the way I like to do it, you technically can turn left at this big road, but I think it's much calmer to turn right and turn onto the 520 trail. So this is one of the ways you can connect on here, the main sort of east-west, and welcome to Bellevue. you can turn onto here. We'll cut for cross trail traffic here. This is where I famously crashed on this bike. Well, I guess maybe not famously, but early 2022, I think it was. It was right around, it was just past New Year's, I think. So now I'm forever scared of this next corner. Because what happened was that it was like after some snow period, and there was just a ton of debris, but like actual sand right here. And then as I was going through, I saw someone coming. I pressed on the brakes, and then down I went right there. And then I landed straight on my hand, and I somehow didn't fracture it. I'll put that to good luck and maybe my low weight. But yeah, that was, I think that's one of the last crashes I've had. I don't think I crashed at all this year, so thank goodness. I hope I didn't just jinx myself. I only have like 9 hours left. Only 1 hour, maybe even definitely less than an hour left on the bicycle today. So we'll see. But this 520 corridor over the past recent years also has seen some decent amount of work in some of the signals and some of the lane markings. So you still use this big sort of sidewalk to transition up. But since we're doing the lake loop, headed back southbound, there's a big sign here that with a right turn. We are indeed going to turn right here, but just look out for the other traffic as well. I think this guy's waiting for me, so that's a nice sign when you see cars waiting for bikes. And we're gonna go here, and then it's gonna be a good climb up, and that should be a lot of the climbing that's left. There's only 2 hills left, this one and another one. So we had a bit of a fender mechanical there, as well as had to change out my GoPro battery, and this is my last one. So if I don't make it back to the Eastrail by then, that's what we're gonna have to live with today. But we're really not too far left in this ride. So let's make it there and finish it off. My total ride time's about 44 miles right now, just about 3 hours and some. And yeah, it's been a good one so far. It's been nice to revisit such a classic route, see how it's changed through the years living here. But this is the second last hill we gotta do. Let's go. All right, that one's done. Only one. It's not really a big hill, but it's definitely noticeable. But now we get a nice downhill through the side of downtown Bellevue. And this is the part that a lot of people don't like to ride through, because you basically just need to take a lane. But maybe I've just grown really used to it. But yeah, we're just gonna go straight here, all the way till 2nd Street. And then that's where we'll turn on and connect with the loop. So this is definitely just close to home to me. I visit downtown Bellevue a lot, so a lot of this route I take basically as my main commuting route. All right. Some cyclists up ahead. Yeah, as I was saying, this area is sort of pretty confusing, but I would boil it down to is if you're aiming past the I90 Trail, I still prefer using this route just because it's more direct and simpler to navigate. If you're aiming to get to the I90 Trail, then using Medina and 108 is a good way. But yeah, this is the section that gets the most flack. But I say overall, taking this route, there is painted bike lanes for most of it. This section there is not, but it is a downhill, and I have never ever encountered an issue taking the full lane here. It's just not, it is a big road, but it isn't the busiest road ever. There's much worse in Bellevue, unfortunately. So usually get by just descending like this. You do need to watch out for the turning traffic out of the plazas, of course, as always. But other than that, it's a reasonable roll down. As you can see, the new light rail line 2 station. I'm braking for that car there. And as well as we approach probably the busiest intersection here, because this is a freeway off-ramp into downtown Bellevue from the 405. So I would not recommend, and if you ever want to cross like towards the other side of the 405, they're working on the Grand Connection, which will work on that. But yeah, right now there's no real good options. I would use 10th or 12th that was behind us. Those are the quieter ones. Once you get to 8th or 4th, they're super busy. Or you can use Main Street actually as well, but you won't be able to connect to Main Street from here. Exactly, it's just up ahead. Or you can connect on the Main Street, sorry, but like Main Street is the next option I would use if you wanted to get to the other side. But the other side also doesn't have a ton of bike lanes on the south side anyway. So you sort of want to, really the best option to connect to the other side is using 12th Street. But yeah, there's a car behind me, there's cars in front of me, beside me, and that sort of was like the ride this section. But I really never had an issue before. I've had more problems definitely in the, I say hazards or whatever you want to say, like definitely on the Burke Gilman if you're during the busy months. But yeah, I gotta watch out for some of these trucks, cars, whatever. And then I'm gonna move over to the left lane here because we're gonna make a left at not this street, this 4th. We're gonna make a left at 2nd. So we timed that light pretty well. So there's no cars behind me and I can make a pretty easy left here. And yeah, from there, they're pretty well set. You're gonna be led directly onto the Eastrail from here. So. This is a yield on left, so look out for cars upcoming and just go for it here. Nice. As this transitions you onto 114th and 118th, this was also repaved not too long ago, so it's pretty nice. The pavement on the east side will be noticeably smoother than a lot of those sections we went through in Seattle. That's one benefit of riding here at least. They spend a lot of money on pavement maintenance, but also a little bit new here is that you see this sort of white curb over to the right. They've sort of worked on this Main Street connection, so it's weird. There's no actual curb onlet, but like here there's a ramp. If you turn around, you can connect onto Main Street and then onto the Main Street Bridge or into downtown. So, but you can tell from this darker pavement and this tiny sharrow, this is really smooth and really new, relatively speaking. And we just go straight parallel to the 405. On that section is where the future Eastrail will be, riding along the trestle and everything coming down. The trestle is basically just due west of where we are, just about where we are now. And yeah, it's gonna be amazing being able to ride from where I started this ride today to downtown Bellevue without any cars. So, and you'll have some pretty awesome views as well. So, yeah, let's see here. This is Southeast 8th now. There's actually very few cars today. Usually there's a line up here. So that's pretty impressive. I'm gonna check my fender. Yeah, as long as it's not rubbing, I think I'm good. All right, I think I'm okay. Yeah, that was surprised that those bolts came loose, but that's a good thing I checked. My current mileage, about 46 and a half. Elevation gain, 1800. And what's my overall speed so far? About 16.17. Yeah, so that's about what I expected. Ended up being closer to 16. Just by myself. All right, rolling. And then for that final hill I was mentioning, it's gonna come up after this bend. This one painted bike lane is the only thing that really connects South Bellevue and beyond to downtown Bellevue. So it's actually such a vital piece of connection here. You'll see many people riding here. And yeah, also recently got repaved, so this past summer. And there it is. Also not very long, but definitely can be a little steep when your legs are tired. As we'll pass by the I90 Trail first, and then to the Eastrail where we started the ride. Let's go. Final gradient. Well, for this video, not for me. I have one hill to climb after to get home, but to get up here. And this is the Mercer Slough. It's a nice nature park, has cool amenities inside. Nice little walk to do if you're ever in the area. And then on weekdays, this area can get pretty backed up with traffic. As the 405 gets crazy, it's one of the few local ways to connect through. All right, that hill's done. So now it's a straight shot to the Eastrail. So comment below, what's a good code word? If you made it this far in the video, watching it, comment below, I don't know, what's a good word? Let's say, comment the I90 Trail, and that'll give me an indication you actually made it this far into the video. Or actually, comment kudos. If you made it this far, watching this far. I'd be super impressed because this is longer than any typical Hollywood movie. But I'm really hoping that this will help some of you to get on your bike in the new year, because it's a resolution setting time, and I'm sure some of you will want to do this. And I really think it's a great first goal and first sort of step to getting into road cycling around here. So and if you've been enjoying this video, definitely roll over that like button and subscribe. There's a lot more. I have a lot of videos I need to edit, but ironically, that's the part I struggle with the most. So finding videos I can make that don't take as much time to edit, like this one, or just writing, really helps. But now we approach the I90 Trail, which is just in this little section here. Just right here to the right, but we're going straight. The I90 Trail then continues out here to the left. So you use this crosswalk, you can keep going the other way. You enter the area of Factoria. You can even go to the brand new supermarket TNT that I've been to many times as a proud Chinese-born Canadian. Or Canadian-born Chinese. I keep forgetting the way. But yeah, we're almost there to the Eastrail now. And yeah, I think for the new year for myself, I'm just hoping to get some more new experiences. I want to ride in some new places. I do want to finish what I started last year and ride the SDP one day on the T-line, Brompton. But I think beyond that, I'm sort of gonna chill on just taking the Brompton on local rides. It's very convenient to do so because I can carpool super easily and all that, but you'll probably see me on the road bike more often for some of those events, just to see where I'm at now. But yeah, so up ahead here, there's gonna be a curve turn onto the trail, and we basically made it back to the Eastrail in South Bellevue. 50 miles of ride, done all together. On your left. Yeah, this is an amazingly quiet day. It is New Year's Eve, but usually by this time there'd be a row of cars over there. And then here, this will lead up to the second bridge that will be needed to connect the Eastrail all the way to down here is the I90 Iron Bridge. So watch for curves coming through. There's a lot of blind corners here. All right, to turn up here, and you are on the Eastrail. The old trail that used to exist, sort of where those parked cranes are and everything, was a lot more rolly. This new version is super nice, super wide, super flat. Nice. All right, and to the right here is Newcastle Beach Park, where I like to start a lot of my road rides when I host them from Cascade Free Group Rides. So just because it's just down the hill from where I live, you see the Eastrail sign, and I'll pull up ahead, and that's where we'll end this video for today. Okay, I just saw that dog leap at someone. I really didn't want to be the next person it goes for. All right, I'll find a good spot here to end the video. We made it back to the Eastrail. My stats so far, I would subtract 2 miles from this because I came from up the hill. About 47 miles, average 16, and just under 2,000 feet of elevation. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. That was a long one. My throat is a little tired, but it was really fun. It's been nice to revisit such a classic route and something that yeah, everyone should at some point try out around here. So let me know what you think, what are your favorite parts, what would you add on, and hope you all have a happy new year, and definitely there'll be lots more to come through Best Side Cycling. So I'll see you all in the next video.